Hello students. In this video, I'll take up the first chapter of economics, that is the story of village Palampur. The main concept or the basic purpose of this chapter is to make you understand the life of people living in rural areas, with special focus on their occupation or the production activities, and we'll try to analyze how production can be increased using the given natural resources. We'll go into detail. Over the past years, there have been many changes in the production activities by which the farmers have tried to increase the production, increase the yield of their crops so that they have better earnings. So we'll see how is it possible to increase the production using the given land, given natural resources. So let's start this chapter by visualizing this village Palampur. Palampur is a hypothetical or an imaginary village. Try to analyze. I'm giving the details about this village. It has a small population, let's say around 450 families live there, which comprises of both upper caste as well as lower caste families. These upper caste families, they live in bigger and pakka houses made up of bricks and cement, while the lower caste families, they live in comparatively smaller houses and they live in one corner of the village. Then this village has all weather roads, so it is well connected with the neighboring town and some neighboring other villages. They are well connected through all weather pakka roads. Then there are transport facilities. On these roads we can see all types of transports like bullock carts, tongas, bogies, as well as motorized vehicles like trucks, tractors and motorcycles, etc. So transport facility is also available. People can move from one place to another, either to buy raw material or to sell their finished goods to these towns and villages. Then comes the education facilities. There is one or two primary schools in this village, and apart from that there is also one senior secondary school. So children can go to school to get the basic education. Then the healthcare facilities. There are dispensaries in this village. Both one is run by government and one is a private dispensary where sick people are treated. So healthcare facilities, education facilities, all these facilities are available in this village. Then the most important, this village has electricity supply. Electricity came quite early in this village and people are using this electricity first is in their houses for lights and fans, but more importantly they are using it to irrigate their land. For irrigation they use tube wells. To run the tube wells we need electricity. So ever since the electricity has reached this village, people have installed the tube wells and which they use to irrigate their fields. So their land is well irrigated throughout the year. And the main occupation of the people living in this village is farming. Farming is the main occupation of most of the people living in rural areas. However, only we can say around 75 to 80% of the people are involved in farming. Other are the non-farming occupation, which we'll take up in detail later. Non-farming could be about 25 to 30% people. Okay, so using these points, you can visualize this village Palampur. Although it's an imaginary hypothetical village, but you can see that it is a typical village of Punjab, Haryana or Western Uttar Pradesh. Most of the villages have all these facilities. So the next topic is the production. Let's understand what is production. Production means to produce goods and services which we require in our day-to-day life. For example, a weaver takes up a raw material like say cotton and turns it into yarn and then into fabric. So this is production. He is producing the cotton fabric which is required by the people for various purposes. So in production typically the inputs are converted into outputs by performing various production activities. So, be it any kind of production activity, whether it's a small scale industry or a big industry, or whether it is farming, all production activities require certain inputs, right? So, these inputs are called the requirements or the factors of production. That's a very important topic from this chapter. What are the factors of production? The first factor is land and other natural resources. Be it any kind of production, whether you want to do farming or you want to set up a shop or maybe a small scale industry or a large industry, you need land for it. So, land is a very important factor of production, and there are certain other natural resources also required. For example, for farming you need water supply, you need soil, a good quality soil to produce good quality crops. So, land and other natural resources are the first category of the factors of production. So, first and the most important factor of production is land and other natural resources. The second factor of production is labor. We need labor to carry out the job. Labor requirement can be of the uneducated or the unskilled labor to carry out manual work, while sometimes skilled or educated labor is required to carry out some specific tasks which require skills or education. So, labor can be of two types, unskilled or skilled, that is uneducated or educated. It depends upon the production activity which has been carried out. Accordingly, we need labor for the production. That is the second factor of production. Next, let's move on to the third factor, which is the physical capital. Physical capital includes all kinds of inputs that we need during the production activity. We can further categorize these physical capital into two categories, that is the fixed capital and the working capital. Fixed capital includes tools, machines, buildings, etc. These tools can vary from simple plowshare, which is used by the farmers for plowing, or the big machines like threshers, combines. Depending upon the situation or the economic status of the farmer or the kind of level of production activity, these tools can be simple or it can be big machines, right? These are called fixed capital because once they are purchased, they help in the production over many years. They are reused over many years. You don't have to invest in them every year or in every production cycles. That is why they are called fixed capital. On the other hand, there is working capital, which includes raw material, money, etc. Raw material, for example, for a sugar mill, the raw material is sugar cane. For a weaver, the raw material is cotton yarn. So, these are the raw material which are required. Apart from this, we also need money to carry out the production activity. Money is required to buy the raw material, to pay the salary to the laborers or the employees, and for many other purposes for transportation of your goods and services. So, continuous supply of raw material and money is required. These are called working capital because they are used up during the production. You need continuous supply during every production cycle. That is why they are called the working capital. So, physical capital can be fixed capital in which the investment is huge, but it is for a longer duration. On the other hand, working capital in which although the investment is small, but you need a regular supply for each production cycle since these products are used up during production. This was the third factor of production. Now, the next factor or the most important factor is the human resource or the human capital. If you have land, you have labor and you have capital, but you cannot put them together efficiently unless you have the knowledge and the enterprise of the human resource. This knowledge and enterprise can actually put all other factors together for efficient production. The land, the labor, the physical capital can give you results only if you apply better knowledge and enterprise. That is why we say this human resource or the human capital is the most important factor of production. Now, let's move on.